Hello, I'm Rachael Phillips. I'm an Ordinand, training for ministry at Cranmer Hall in Durham. This project is about raising awareness of mental ill health, especially during lockdown. Welcome to Light in the Darkness.
Lockdown has been hard for so many of us, particularly affecting people's mental health. The problem is we don't talk about it. There's still such a stigma around mental ill health. We get tied up in knots for fear of saying the wrong thing, but because we don't talk about it, we don't really know how to talk about it. Lockdown has caused a deterioration of the mental health of so many people, affecting all parts of society, all ages, and all backgrounds. Particularly this third lockdown, as fatigue sets in and hope is hard to hang on to. Over the next few weeks, we'll be hearing from lots of different people from within our community, sharing their stories of mental illness and lockdown, what they do to try and maintain good mental health, and what they've learned through this experience. We'll be hearing how the Christian faith and Christian community responds to struggle. We'll be exploring mindfulness, breathing techniques, prayer experiments, poetry, art, and how the outdoors can help create balance and contribute to good mental health. The overall message is you're not alone in your struggle. You are not alone. You are valued. You are seen. You are loved by God. Welcome to Light in the Darkness.
Our first interview is with Colleen Rhodes. Colleen is a widow and lives alone and has suffered with depression in the past. She's going to be sharing with us her experience of that, how she's coped in lockdown, some top tips for anyone who feels like they may be suffering or in a similar boat to her. But first of all, we're going to hear some poetry that she wrote, which really helped her out in the early days.
Outwardly I appear okay, the tablets I have thrown away, but there are days when I want to say, I need a hug. I want to lean on someone strong who will not think that it is wrong for me sometimes to have them there and know they care. For some it's hard to understand the reassurance I demand to get me through those awful days when life's a haze. This poem took me minutes. I didn't have to think, that flowed, and that inspiration came from somewhere.
And you wrote a lot of poetry around this time, but am I right in thinking you'd never written poetry before?
Only for school.
Only for school.
and that was a trauma. That was a trauma homework. Yeah.
You, from somewhere within you, your depression kind of expressed itself on paper, even though that you weren't a poet beforehand.
Yeah, exactly.
And am I right also in thinking that when you got better, you just stopped writing?
Yeah. I don't know whether I told you that I was such an anxious state that my shoes would be off. I was trembling inside all the time, sucking. Every jacket pocket had a peppermints in, had polo mints. Alan used to buy them a pack of 5. So I had friends from school who were very, very good retired teachers from Ordinand. I used to have to get to Millbank, which meant walking down Unry Lane, and I was seized with fear. and I'd have the polos and my keys in my pocket. And all the thought was the doctors is at the end of the road, Carmel surgery's at the end of the road. And I had to make that effort. I had to fight this. And as I say, gradually the polos disappeared and everything. And it's all of a sudden that you think, gosh, I'm feeling a bit better. Dare I admit that I'm feeling a bit better?
It's funny you should say that, because I know that I've spoken to friends who've had depression, and I've had depression a few times in my life. And because it comes and goes, some days are worse than others. You can be in the depths, but actually have quite a good day.
Yeah.
It can feel strange, and you're very cautious about admitting that you feel a bit better, for fear of then declining again, or other people sort of, this is going to sound strange, but the moment you say you're feeling better, you worry that there's going to be then the absence of sympathy or understanding, or people just expect you to be back to normal. And then when you do take another turn, because depression can be like that, will they still be there, or will they get tired of you saying it? I mean, these are things I've talked about with my friends over the years who've had depression. Did you experience that?
Well, this poem says, is it all in my imagination? Am I dreaming? I feel different. Something has happened to me. It's hard to explain. I think I'm feeling better. Dare I say it? I can't risk breaking the spell, as I can't face going backwards again.
Yeah.
You think you're tempting fate,
yeah,
by admitting that you feel a bit better.
Yeah, I know that feeling, for sure.
Yeah, and this, for months the house was in darkness. Occasionally a friendly phone call, a chat with a friend will make a light flicker for a few hours, but then all would be dark again. Time passed, and planning happy family events lifted the gloom, and a light would burn for many hours, sometimes days, with only an occasional flicker. But darkness would always return. All of a sudden, out of the blue, more lights were beginning to switch on, some for days, some for only a few hours. The world was getting brighter. Goals were being set, and I felt that I had a future. So many things I wanted to do, so many months I had wasted. The urge was there to plan and pursue, but maybe it had been God's will for me to suffer and take stock of my life. An inner peace is descending as a weight is lifted from my mind. I want to organise and take control, but most of all, I just want to be me again. The atmosphere is so fragile, I hardly dare breathe in case the lights dim or horrors go out again. I'm sure the lights are getting brighter, and I pray that hopefully soon the whole house will be ablaze with light.
Oh, that's beautiful, Colleen. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that poem particularly, I feel, is very poignant to this project, which is Light in the Darkness. So you've just been describing a darkness, the darkness of depression, the darkness of a dark house, and then like putting on lights, just one at a time, maybe an entire room, and then you describe the light of the world outside. The world is getting brighter. So it's just beautiful imagery. I love that, the idea of, because I definitely associate depression with darkness. For me, it was more like a black blanket or a black cloud descending on me, but total blackness and darkness. So light in the darkness is a very clear and helpful image, I find.
Yes, yeah. As I slowly emerged from this dark abyss, I'm starting to question how I came to be there, which events in my life prompted the decline into the unknown and sinister vacuum. This unreal world engulfed my whole being. My body was not my own. He was inhabited by demons that plagued my mind, so I couldn't relax and needed constant reassurance that life would eventually return to normal. But in this state, it is hard to believe that you can ever find peace again. The progress is so slow, you must be patient. As you were advised at first, but find hard to do, count the positive minutes or hours. If you have a bad day, look to tomorrow for a new start. You need someone who is willing to be the home for your mind, who will listen and never judge, who will encourage and not condemn. This is the most important person in your life at this time, as you can be yourself with them. You can offload your worries, however minor or absurd. Their quiet and calm reassurance releases attention as you talk. Don't be afraid to cry, as they understand the need. Your family are too close to you. They know you as you were before. They find it hard to see you as you are now, frightened, insecure, with low self-esteem, and lonely as you do not want others to see you in this state, but desperate for company to talk and distract your mind. When the gloom starts to lift, it is a gradual awakening. For weeks you daren't admit that life is changing. But oh, what joy when you do. You start to walk tall again. Your voice is stronger. You want to dress up and go out to pick up the threads of your life again. Although this may cause minor traumas as you cross the bridge to normality, it does get easier, believe me. I too found it difficult to believe the friends who told me this. They knew because they too had visited that place of deep despair. They knew that the sun would shine again and you'd be walking on air.
Thank you so much. That you have written what so many people are feeling right now, and your words, they transcend time. I know that was written quite a few years ago, written by you, but definitely recognizable among many others, I'm quite sure. So thank you so much for sharing that, Colleen. I wondered, can I pray for you? And
Yeah.
can I also, I'd like to offer this prayer out to anybody else who's watching, who recognises themselves in what Colleen has just written in her poem. Lord God, thank you for Colleen, and thank you for what she's shared. The struggles that she's been through, and the struggles shared by many today who feel they are in a black, dark place where they struggle to see the light. Lord, I just pray that you will be near them, that they will feel you, that they will feel your spirit very clearly in their lives, and they get a sense, as Colleen did, that there is light in the darkness and that you are that light, and that they only need to see the flicker from a tiny candle to believe. I pray that you would help us all in this really difficult time, and that you would be very clearly present among those who suffer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Seek help. You would if you had a broken arm. Don't be afraid to seek help. It's out there, and don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. And also, because that was it, to have a confidant outside of the family. Outside of the family, I think it's important, because you wouldn't tell family everything, where you would open up to a dear friend or a clergy or somebody, a nurse, a counsellor, whatever, you have to open up. Don't be frightened. Don't be frightened, because you can't mend it yourself. You can't mend it yourself. And I'm always prepared to listen to anybody. Always. Because you know exactly how they feel. And those who've been there do. And they can offer you an awful lot of support.
Thank you so much, Colleen, for your openness and your honesty, for your story and for your poetry. I'm sure that will have been inspiring to many people who've been watching. Next up, we've got Michael and Angela Green. Angela has been ill with cancer since before the first lockdown, so their experience of lockdown has really been quite different to most. They're going to be talking to us about what they've learned, about leaning on others and being dependent, learning about their community, and how they've adjusted with their new routines in lockdown. We're in lockdown. It can be tough for some people to know what to do with their time, but you're very busy. Would you like to explain a bit about what's keeping you busy and what you've been up to today?
A little early. So I got early this morning. I had things on my mind to do with a campaign that we've been pulling together, and so I spent maybe an hour with that and praying at the same time. I usually spread out my campaign stuff and also my Bible and prayer books and kind of do the two together, and then get onto the cycle machine in the garage, and I've cycled in there and I do 20 minutes flat out in there, and at the same time I either pray out loud, sing, don't know what the neighbours think, or just pray in my head, and then come in and sort the cat out, and that's been the start to my day, and then wait for Angela to come down.
So you have a different routine, don't you, Angela? You two kind of work, you're in the same household, but you have a different pattern of life, don't you?
I tend to be a night person, and Michael's an early riser and does not like anybody around in the morning at all, which suits me fine. Yeah. So I trundle down, and I do my exercises first, because I have exercises to do from the hospital, and then I usually read and pray. I don't always read my Bible at that time, because we found that a very good way of reading the Bible through the year, which we do every year, is to listen to the Bible being read to us at meal times. So the television's off and we listen to a program. There's lots of sites, but one that we particularly like is one where you can choose the version of the Bible, and you can choose who is reading to you, which helps sometimes with accents and things. So we use I think it's called the Audio Gateway Bible. Certainly I've felt that at the breakfast table, that's when we share.
That's what's changed with lockdown.
That's what's changed for us.
There's no pressure.
There's
nobody's
no
coming to the house.
pressure.
It's almost like being on an island. And when we were younger, we always used to say it'd be lovely to live on a Scottish island in the middle of nowhere. Or for me, I would love to be a hermit sometimes and just live without any clocks and pressure. And what lockdown has done for us, it's done that for us. So in the morning, I just love breakfast time, which is late now, because we sit there and eat. And I'm waiting for Angela to share what she has read, on what book she's got and what prayer book. So I sit and I listen, and we talk a bit about that and see how it applies to our life, and then we get on with things. So we now, I would say, people would say we're lazy in the morning, in the sense that we don't do anything apart from just enjoy being together and enjoy the solitude and enjoy the privacy. And then I just love listening to a reading and praying, and then we get on with the day. So
you say that you've not done anything in the morning, but it sounds to me like you pack in quite a lot before breakfast from that description. Yeah. I know a lot of people have really struggled to know what to do with their time, how to structure their day. They're used to having things in their diary, things to look forward to, meeting people or taking part in groups. And now that all of those things have been taken away, it's really starting to affect their mental health. But what I'm hearing from you is that you've kind of embraced this totally different way of living and you've adapted. And I don't know how long you guys have been married, but I'm assuming quite a long time, 51 years, and you're still finding a new way of being together, a new way of living. You've adjusted. And this pattern that you described, to me, it just sounds absolutely idyllic.
After the cancer operation, I had sepsis and was in isolation in hospital, which was an eye-opener.
That was not this Boxing Day.
That wasn't this Boxing Day. It was the year before.
So what, 14 months ago?
Yes.
Yes.
Goodness me.
And then following that, of course, I had to have radiotherapy, and the radiotherapy overlapped with the first lockdown, and I had to be very careful during that time. It was already beginning.
The radiotherapy finished just before
the March lockdown. Yeah. I finished on February the 20th, and the March lockdown was, a couple of weeks. That's last year. Yeah.
So have you not left your house or garden?
Unless it was a appointment, I haven't been. No.
Yeah.
That's astonishing, and yet I've not been allowed to. I haven't really felt. I want to get out, and I want to get out and walk and have fresh air and walks, but it hasn't been permitted. But I'm all right. I'm fine. I'm okay about it. We're very fortunate. God's blessed us with a massive garden,
and we
have an allotment.
And I get up to the allotment.
Michael gets to the allotment,
and also we put a gazebo up in the garden,
yes.
A tent type gazebo. So when people were allowed to come, it was great because you can get 4 people in this gazebo. It's there now. It's lovely.
So during times when we haven't been locked down, even though I haven't been allowed to go places, family. Certain members of the family and friends occasionally have come, and it's been great to be able to meet outdoors safely.
And I found it really difficult to begin with, that people were asking if we'd like any shopping.
And help.
That's interesting, yeah.
I really did, and because I'm independent, because I would have normally done that for somebody else. But it's changed, it's great. So we've got a couple down the street, Claire and Martin, who are just so helpful. And drop things off on the doorstep, and we wave to them and chat at the gate, at a distance. An ex-head that Angela worked with, Kevin and Eleanor. So we now I can accept that. And the supermarkets bring the stuff because we're priority now.
Can we talk a bit more about this discomfort? It's hard, isn't it, to be on the receiving end of generosity and to be looked after. So I mean, some of us take to it easier than others, but. For some, like you're describing, it wasn't easy at first to do that.
I had to slowly accept it, and I think part of it was a pride thing, because, like most people, we never feel that we've aged in any way. So I feel no different than when we were first married. You don't think that you're getting older,
no.
and I don't want to feel that I am dependent on others. That's really because it reminds me that the time may come when I'm more than that dependent. And that is something that the lockdown has actually made me think more about. We've never Zoomed before, as most people won't have, but we just loved the Zooming with the church group and the Alpha course
Use
and
that
the
as
follow-up.
An opportunity to grow.
And that actually gave me an opportunity. I'm not a closet evangelist, but I found it to be quite constrained sharing my faith within church because it's a very formal church where people don't talk very much openly about how the faith affects their own life, whereas I love to talk about faith like that. But Jen gave us the opportunity along with Nikki Gumble, and then sitting with everybody on those screens, I thought, well, I can do this. I can share my life, and I'm not in a room full of people. I'm at home. So that's been a big benefit of the lockdown.
It sounds like there have been lots of silver linings in lockdown for you. What would you say to people who especially in this third lockdown, are now really struggling to see the silver linings, who are really struggling to see the positivity, who maybe in the first or second lockdown were still thinking, okay, we can do this, it's going to be a short period of time, and it's new and it's different, and it's in some way kind of a novel, different way to live. We're about nearly a year in, and we're in lockdown. People's patience and fortitude is kind of wearing thin, isn't it, for a lot of people? So from what you've learned, what kind of tips would you give to people who are really struggling at the moment to see those silver linings or see those positivities?
I would say to people who are getting to the point where they are frustrated, or their tempers are wearing thin, or they feel things are just not right in life around them, to halt and use this time. It's a time you'll never have again. Use it to develop relationships at home with one another, if you're not alone. But find ways, as it said in the poem, conversation doesn't finish just because there's nobody in the house. Pick up a telephone and ring somebody you haven't rung for a long time, or that you want to ring, or that you might think might need an encouraging word, or that you want to feel that listening to them might be what they need, etc. There are always ways to use your time in a different way, and it's time you won't have again, so use it. Can I just say to everybody that a little poem that's been sent to music that my sister sent me really made me jump and think, and I hope it does that to others, because it's called Not Everything's Locked Down. It says, remember, sunrise isn't locked down, fresh air isn't locked down, family time isn't locked down, friendship isn't locked down, creativity isn't locked down, prayers are not locked down, hobbies are not locked down, hopes and dreams are not locked down, kindness is not locked down, learning is not locked down, conversation is not locked down, imagination is not locked down, sunsets are not locked down, hope is not locked down. Cherish what you have, stay at home, make the most of your time. May you be safe, may you be happy, and may you be well. Amen.
Despite the struggles and difficulties that were imposed upon you in terms of your health, being very restricted in where you can go, much more so than many of the rest of us in lockdown, you have adapted. You've found those silver linings. You've grown in faith. Thank you both so much for your contribution. It's been fascinating talking to you, and I look forward to hearing what else you have to say in the future. I'm sure we will we'll chat again. Next up, we've got Reverend Beth Rookwood, who's going to lead us in a relaxation technique. And I've done this with Beth a few times now, and I can tell you it's the most relaxing and peaceful part of my day. So if you're suffering from anxiety, or you've had a bit of a stressful day, or to be honest, even if you've had a good day, I would still definitely recommend this exercise. It really is fantastic. Feel free to re-watch this bit of the video as many times as you like. Do come back to it, because it totally is a value. So I hope I haven't embarrassed Beth too much. Let's see what she has to say.
Hi, my name's Beth Rookwood, and I live in wild and beautiful and a little bit cold today, Northumberland. Amongst other things that I'm doing at the moment, I'm training to be an integral coach. And this type of coaching takes a holistic look at a person to help them really think about how they show up in the world. And not just from a goal-orientated point of view, but really looking at the whole of who a person is, their heart, their mind, their body, and their soul, and paying attention to the wisdom held in each of those places that can help us live in a way where we're more fulfilled and where we bring more of who we are as a gift to the world in which we live. As a Christian, and actually also as a priest in the Church of England, I'm finding that this work is just so wonderful. It includes every part of us that I believe God has made, and every part of us, I believe, again, has wisdom to bring us. It's all made in God's image. So I'm going to lead us now in a grounding exercise, a way of stilling ourselves, a way of paying attention to our bodies. Our bodies can be places that carry many things, like carry tension, carry emotion. And so this exercise is just about stilling ourselves and letting our awareness of our bodies become more present for us. So I'd really like you to, first of all, pay attention to how you're sitting right now, and come to sit in a way that means you're not having to be off balance, but just in a very settled way. So how I'm sitting, I've got both feet flat on the ground. My seat is in a neutral place. I'm not leaning forward or back. I'm not resting on anything. I'm just held. And for this exercise, I'm going to close my eyes. I find it really helpful to do that. You're welcome to do the same, and you might find it helpful also. So the first invitation is to pay attention to your breathing. Quite often we breathe in quite shallow ways, but now is a time to really pay attention to your breath. You might find it helpful just to put your hand kind of on your tummy under your diaphragm. And as you breathe, I'd like to invite you to fill that space under your diaphragm. So you're not breathing near your neck, you're breathing within your belly. And I'd like to invite you to take 3 big breaths that really fill your belly. And I invite you to breathe in through your nose, perhaps for 4 counts, to hold that breath for 4 counts, and breathe out through your mouth for 4 counts. So we'll do the first couple together. So in, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath, 2, 3, 4. And then breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Same again. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Now in your own time, 2 more breaths, deep breaths like that. And then just with your hands resting in your lap, we're going to do what is called a body scan. And we're going to start at our toes, and we're going to tense our muscles as we go up the body and breathe in. And as we release the muscles, we're going to breathe out. If you feel any pain or discomfort at any time, just either pass over that part of the body, or perhaps even just listen. So we'll start with our toes. I want you to scrunch up your toes and your feet really tight, breathing in. And then let those muscles relax and your feet uncurl as you breathe out. Just think about your calf muscles, tense those muscles there. Bring into mind all the ways these muscles have looked after you today. And breathe out as you relax them. Tense your quad muscles, breathing in, thinking about how these muscles have helped you move around so much today. And then breathe out. Think about your seat muscles, your glutes, and just clench them, which might mean that you move up. Then breathe out. Again, with awareness of how those muscles have helped you sit today. I'm going to think about our arms. I want you to clench your fists really, 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 really tight as you breathe in. Let them uncurl as you breathe out. Your forearms, muscles that are quite hard to isolate sometimes, but tensing them up. and letting them go. Your biceps and triceps, if you tense those, bringing to mind all the ways that these muscles have helped you carry things, perhaps people today, and then letting them go. Going down to our belly area, can you pull those muscles in and contract them? Let them go. Bringing to mind all the organs that are there that keep us healthy and keep our immune system, our nervous system balanced. Come to your chest, breathing in, tightening those muscles if you can, and breathing them out and letting them relax. Coming to your back, you might find yourself wanting to arch it and stretch it, then curl it over too as you breathe in. And just letting it relax into a neutral place. It's no effort to be like this. Come to your shoulders, often a place where a lot of us carry tension. Lifting your shoulders up, feeling that tension, stretching it around, and then letting them gently drop as you breathe out. Paying attention to our neck, perhaps tensing muscles there, feeling them, maybe it's pressing in around the back of them, and then letting it come to just a neutral position, recognizing with gratitude just how your neck has been at work today. Coming to your face, you might want to prod it, move your jaw, and then put some pressure on your skull, just that awareness of how your skull, the muscles in your neck, and how the brain side of here just works away, literally to keep you alive. And coming to relax. Taking a deep breath here and paying attention to that breath. Breathing out. And then just asking yourself, what have you noticed through doing this exercise? What has emerged for you? Might be a realization that you'd not even thought about, say your calf muscles today. We've totally taken them for granted, the ways they helped us walk, stand, kneel, exercise. Might be a gratitude for things like our fingertips, the ways we've been able to type and text, feed ourselves. Might be just a sense of recognizing that we are held up by gravity, by the chair that we're seated on, by the floor, by the structure of this house. We are held on this earth by ways we don't have to do anything. We're held, this universe is designed to hold us. Perhaps just an awareness that you have a body that helps look after you. A body that perhaps we're mean about sometimes. We say things about wanting to change it or wish it were different, but actually this incredible body that our soul and our heart and our head, they're housed in, and our body is part of us, not just a vehicle to carry us around, but a huge part of us. And there might perhaps be feelings of wonder and gratitude. So just hold all of those as we come to our time together today. You might even want to offer your own prayer of thanks. Perhaps thanks to God for these bodies. So just another couple of deep breaths to really pay attention to that breath, how our body needs that oxygen, how it needs to get rid of the CO2. And then perhaps again, you might just want to open your eyes and come back into the room that you're in, the surroundings that you're in. Perhaps an awareness of who you're with now, in whatever sense it means to be with those people. And that's a practice you can do at any time of the day. You can do it a lot more quickly. You can do it a lot more slowly. But just use it to bring an awareness to this wonderful body that we've all been given.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Beth. We're coming to the end of episode 1. But before we go, we've got Chris Ward, who's a paramedic, and he's going to say the Lord's Prayer for us. Do feel free to join in if you wish.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Chris. I hope you found this first episode of Light in the Darkness helpful. If you are struggling, I hope that you see that you're not alone in your struggles. If anything in this episode has unsettled you and you want to speak to someone, then please don't hesitate to reach out. There's information at the end of the video of some organisations ready and waiting to support you. And each Thursday in Lent, I'll be hosting a drop-in session on Zoom, and I'd like to warmly welcome you to come along. Whether you just need a bit of contact, you want to talk about anything from this episode, or even explore your faith and what God might be saying to you at this time, please feel welcome. Details of how to join the Zoom room are on our website. And if Zoom isn't your thing, then Jen, our lovely vicar, is at the end of the phone and happy to talk. We also have a dedicated pastoral care team of wonderful volunteers. More details can be found on our website. I'll now leave you with this beautiful prayer set to music, which shows just what can happen when an entire community come together to support each other and work together in lockdown. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.